France, Brazil, and Russia, and why Americans should care.
It's news to me. Welcome to It's News to Me, where the it is IT and the me is whoever it needs to be. I'm Noah Parker.
I'm Michael Trotter-Lawson.
And I'm Tyler Rasnick.
All right. So last time we celebrated 25 episodes, one whole year of this podcast. Woo! Very exciting. And if you listen to that episode, you know that it was, oops, all hypotheticals.
And if you didn't listen to it, you oughta.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to it. It's all hypothetical, so it's timeless. You don't have to worry about
relevant news.
Yeah, none of that. None of that in that podcast.
None of that nonsense.
But no, we're gonna get back on track with this one to celebrate the start of the American football season here in the United States. I wanted to talk about that today. And Noah, I want to give you the option to fully abstain from this conversation if you so desire.
Oh, I'll input something. It probably won't be anything useful for anyone, but could be entertaining.
So, Tyler, I wanted to get, at the very least, your Super Bowl and your national championship predictions for this football season. And I will, of course, share my own.
Okay.
I can go first if you...
Yeah, you go first. I have an idea, but I don't want to say the same thing you do. So
yeah, I think the Titans are going to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Man, as much as I'd love to see it, I don't think it's going to happen.
What if they did? You guys would have to eat my words.
I would gladly eat them. I would eat those words like a chocolate chip cookie, let me tell you.
We should start having food for this podcast.
Yeah.
No, we shouldn't. That's a bad idea.
That's a terrible idea. You edit this podcast.
We need pre-podcast food before we hit the record button.
Yeah, like a banquet?
Yeah.
I think that's called lunch.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, but like second lunch.
Okay.
Who you got?
For the Super Bowl... I don't know. I mean, there's a good chance that it won't be them, but it's hard to bet against them. I got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're going to pull off the three-peat. I think if you look at this Chiefs team, they were not great last year.
Yeah. Their
defense was their biggest strength, and the offense was pretty much just Patrick Mahomes occasionally making miracles happen when he needed to. And I think this year the receiving core is better. They've picked up even more talent in the draft. I'm not aware of any major departures. Nothing that comes to mind. L'Jarius Sneed. I know that one because he went to the Titans.
Yeah, I was going to say no. Yeah, none of the big names left.
Still, I think
are retired.
The big thing with that defense is is their coordinator Spagnuolo. So I think the defense is still going to be good. I think the offense is going to be even better.
Still have Chris Jones.
And yeah, we still have Chris Jones. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes, once the Chiefs get to the playoffs, it's just hard to see another AFC team overcoming them. I mean, the Ravens have been great, but they've kind of become like the Cowboys of the AFC, great in the regular season, collapse in the playoffs.
They've lost some defensive talent too. I forgot the name of the linebacker that went to Pittsburgh, but their starting middle linebacker left. They lost a cornerback.
Not Roquan Smith.
No. Shoot. I should know this. I'm a Steelers fan. Yeah, Patrick Queen. Okay. Yeah, they lost Patrick Queen, which, he was... and they lost a corner too, but I don't remember how important that actually was. It wasn't their starting corner. I think it was their nickel. But either way, they've lost people. And Lamar
the Bills have lost a lot of people too.
The thing with the Bills, though, is I think James Cook is good. I think Keon Coleman could be amazing. And I really wanted him yesterday, but didn't get him.
We had our fantasy football draft yesterday.
Keon Coleman could be amazing. I think Stephon Diggs is overrated at this point in his career, and I don't think that his departure really means a whole lot, if anything.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up being like the number 2 or maybe even the number 3 in Houston.
Well, because Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are like IRL best buds. So they're definitely.
And Nico Collins is also already
great
there and has really good chemistry as well.
So, yeah, I feel like in the AFC, there's really not. That's the thing about this year in the NFL is there's not like this team should win the Super Bowl. It's pretty open for the top tier.
It could be. I don't know. And I mean, I don't want to completely count out the NFC either. You know, obviously 49ers are still very good. They have one more year before they have to, sign Brock Purdy and stop paying him, chump change.
$200,000.
Yeah. And, I think the Lions are still very good. Might even be better this season. Packers are doing well. There's a lot of good teams, but it's just hard to bet against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my Super Bowl pick. So who do you have them playing? Do you have them winning?
Well, yeah, I had them winning. I don't think the 49ers are going to go back, mostly just for the reason that I think the odds of having the exact same Super Bowl game 2 years in a row is just slim. Like it's like picking the same answer on a test back to back. I just don't think I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to work out that way. I think it could be the Lions.
Yeah, that's my pick. I've got Detroit and I've got Kansas City. And I got Detroit winning.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see that. I think that would be my preferred outcome. Detroit's such a, long-suffering franchise, long-suffering fan base. I know your dad's a big fan.
He is. And it's not why I'm picking him. I truly think they're on paper, I think they're the best team. Now, the Mahomes thing you're talking about, you can't really account for that. Who knows? But, I mean, Detroit beat Kansas City last year, granted with no Kelsey.
Yeah.
But I think they can beat them. I think they have the team.
No Chris Jones either.
I honestly think if they had somehow pulled off the upset, if they had actually beat the Niners, that they would have won the Super Bowl last year.
It's certainly possible. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I'd like to see that. I think, Detroit deserves it. I don't think Kansas City needs another Super Bowl win.
Well, the other thing is a three-peat. Think about all of the great teams over the last 40 years in professional football, in the salary cap era and before the salary cap. You had teams pre-salary cap era like the Steelers, the Steel Curtain. You had the Green Bay Packers. You had the Cowboys in the early 90s. None of those teams three-peated ever.
I mean, you're right.
The Patriots dynasty, no three-peats.
I know.
So it's incredibly hard to do, and I feel like they have obviously the opportunity to do it, but hasn't been done before. So I don't know if there's got to be something to it other than it's really hard. I don't know. It's kind of the same thing as we haven't had a undefeated season since the 72 Dolphins. So there's always something that trips up those excellent teams. Yeah, and if you lose in the Super Bowl, typically you have a dumpster fire season. For whatever reason, that's pretty much been the case. I think maybe one time it hasn't happened in the last 10, 15 years.
3 times if you look at the Bills.
Well, true.
The poor Bills.
Yeah, but their curse was they lost.
They kept losing.
Yeah, they kept losing. So I don't know. I feel like the Niners, also the Ayuk situation, everything with the Niners right now just doesn't give me warm fuzzies.
But they got Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk back. They signed them.
They did.
They signed them both.
But the fact that the situation happened at all is just, doesn't give me great feelings.
The offseason's the offseason. What matters is, when the football starts.
For college.
I think there's too much politics behind football. You just got to get out there and throw the old pigskin. You know what I'm saying, fellas?
He's right. I think for college, I have probably, I don't know, the last few seasons, I'm a Michigan fan, obviously. But the last 3 seasons, I had a pretty good handle on who the good teams were.
Yeah.
Even going into the season, I pretty much knew, and I was pretty spot on with most of my. I know even the Tennessee fans at the office didn't want to hear it, but last year I was pretty realistic and accurate with what happened with your quarterback situation anyway.
Well, yeah.
This year, I don't know. I actually thought Oregon was going to be really good based on just on paper.
Didn't look good in that first week.
Didn't look good. I knew we would struggle. I compare this more to like when Harbaugh took over Michigan and we were kind of a dumpster fire and he was trying to build. We've lost too much to be good.
Sure.
Our defense is going to be great. I think we'll win 8 games. But as far as the elite teams, I don't want to say Ohio State, but on paper they have probably the most talent. They've definitely paid them the most.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, gun to my head, it's like Bama, Ohio State are the 2 teams right now that look.
No, not Georgia?
I don't know about Georgia. I know they beat Clemson, but I never put any weight or stock into Dabo the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't put anything on that Clemson win for sure.
I think the game's completely passed Dabo by, especially the NIL stuff and the NIL in the portal that he's completely just not embraced. I mean, Georgia's going to be good, but I actually think Bama's going to be really good. I think people are counting out.
Look, I mean, I'm not. Obviously, I am a Tennessee Volunteers fan. I don't. My biggest hope for this season for UT is that we make the playoffs. I don't know if that's realistic. It's probably not, but that's my pie in the sky goal is that we just make that first 12 team playoff.
Yeah,
I think that'd be fantastic. I think my money is still on Georgia for the biggest reason is just because we've got these new teams coming into the SEC, and Kalen DeBoer, I think he's an excellent coach. I think Alabama's going to be just fine, sadly, but I think it's you got to give it at least a year before Alabama's going to be great again.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah, but
I hope.
The thing is,
this might just be wishful thinking.
I think so, because Kalen DeBoer is a great recruiter, but Nick Saban was a great recruiter. They didn't lose a whole lot to the transfer portal.
No, they really didn't.
They're replacing the guys they lost with blue chippers. Georgia basically has a lot of the same guys on the team they had last year. Granted, they're a year older. Carson Beck's got another year under his belt. They lost to Alabama last year.
Yeah, they lost to Alabama last year, but I mean, they haven't lost a regular season game since 2020. That's absurd. You know? Like, I mean, they have such at this point right now in college football history, they have just an unparalleled record of success in the last 4 years. And
Michigan's won more games in a row. They have.
Yeah, but how many titles has Michigan won in the last 5 years?
Just one. Just the one.
It's way more than Tennessee's won. Yeah. Yeah. In any case, I think there's a good chance that Georgia will bounce back and get at least one more national title. Maybe. Honestly, I think it's going to be some wild card, unexpected team with this 12 team playoff. I think there's going to be some chaos, at least with the first edition of it.
What I think will happen is you'll have a wild card out of the blue. So you got 2 sides of the bracket. One of the sides something crazy will happen. Like, I don't know, Duke or someone that's not a blue blood will get lucky, maybe get on a roll. They're going to get to the championship game against Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State. And it's going to be similar to the Michigan-Washington game where it really wasn't really all that close.
Well, the Michigan-Washington game or that
the Georgia
TCU game.
In the sense there was a Cincinnati game too, right?
Yeah, there was a Cincinnati
game. That was a 1-4 matchup, but still, it's going to be something like that.
It was Georgia that played the TCU in the national championship a few years ago,
Georgia
right?
played Cincinnati the year that. Well, hold on. No, Alabama played Cincinnati the year we played Georgia and got destroyed. Alabama destroyed Cincinnati, and then that was the national championship game. The next year, they played TCU.
You all lost to TCU.
Yeah, they played TCU and just obliterated them.
Yeah.
And then we played Washington, which is a good team on paper. They beat Texas, but
Yeah.
didn't look like it in the national championship game.
Yeah, it was. You all just manhandled them that game.
Yeah, our
wasn't it?
defense was just too much. But yeah, I think the 12 teams, you're going to have more. Like, that's the thing I said about Georgia is like, yeah, they're good. But I mean, that's the scary thing about the new playoffs and exciting thing is it just takes one game and you're out.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. Honestly, that's what I love about playoffs just in both versions of football. Is like, unlike all these other sports where you've got series and things like that.
best of, yeah.
Yeah, it means the best team's always going to go through, but that's boring.
Yeah.
I want some chaos. Without that kind of system, like I don't think the Titans make the AFC Championship back in 2019. You know.
Yeah, the Eagles
I
don't
don't
beat
think
the Patriots that year that what's his face had to start a quarterback.
Nick Foles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't have happened.
I don't
If that
think
was a best of 7, New England wins the other 5 games in a row or whatever, 4 games in a row.
Yeah. New England gets their undefeated season in 07.
Yep.
You know, there's no way they lose that game to the Giants. So, yeah, it's just football, it's a chaotic sport.
I don't think Michigan beats Alabama in a best of 7
really
last year. I don't. That was as close as it got.
Yeah.
I mean, it came down to the final play. Who knows? You know?
It was a crazy game. I still remember that one pass JJ McCarthy had.
Oh, he's
where it
rolling to his left.
Maybe. All I remember is seeing the replay where it got like tipped, but it like it stayed a perfect spiral and just like lifted up a little bit, and then they still caught it. It was crazy.
He got flushed out of the pocket. He was rolling left through across his body while falling down and getting hit. It hit someone's finger. The pass had so much velocity, like you said, it kept on its trajectory.
Yeah.
And then Roman Wilson had to jump just an extra like 3 inches to get it, but was already there. So that doesn't happen 7 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the beauty, the fun part about football. And honestly, why college kind of has, I love it for what it is, but I'm happy that we've adopted this because, like, man, the BCS sucked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you can talk as much crap as you want about the college football playoff, but at least they tried.
Yeah.
You know, it was better than what we had. But the BCS just was bad.
Yeah. I think it's still better than, those old days where they would just decide the national champion at the end of the season,
Yeah, where Fulmer could just be like, oh, I'm mad about the Heisman. Nebraska. They kicked our ass.
Good times.
Still counts. We still national championship.
So Noah, who do you think is going to win the Titans are winning the Super Bowl? Who's winning the
I think based on the amount of money and time that people put into watching football, buying merch and all that things, I think I'm the real winner here. You
don't think you're missing anything by not being into sports?
No, I can still hang out where there's a TV and drink. I mean, I don't need that. I'm not a very competitive person. Even if it comes to myself against someone else or like someone else against someone else, I could care less.
I mean, I get that. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I also can't get it.
Yeah.
Like I was I was writing in my journal last night because, I do that now. And I was writing about the start of the NFL season and thinking about how my mood can kind of be directly tied to the success or lack thereof of the Tennessee Titans throughout the football season. And that's probably not healthy.
No.
But at the same time, I mean, I wouldn't give it up. Well, it's like that feeling. I still remember the moment. Obviously not when it happened because I wasn't able to watch it live because I was working at Pals. But I got back home after the divisional round where the Titans played we played the Ravens, and everyone expected us to get destroyed. Again, this is back in 2019, and we ran straight through the Ravens, and it was incredible. And I remember watching the highlights in my kitchen and just trying to just trying to keep my voice down because I didn't want to wake, didn't want to wake my parents up. And the lows are lows, but the highs, they just can't be beat. You know?
I mean, I'm this way with Michigan. Always have been.
Yeah.
We've had some real low lows over the last 20 years. Appalachian State, Toledo, trouble with the snap. My parents have a dent in their couch from trouble with the snap that they were gone when this happened.
Yeah.
I punched a hole in the couch because I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. But
that's against Michigan State, right?
Yeah. Time's expiring.
Yeah.
We just had to punt. All we had to do was punt. Trouble with the snap. They get it. They win. Like the odds of it happening, I think the ESPN was like 99.9% chance of winning, and then we lose. Punched a hole. That's not great. But like you said, you win the national championship last year, beat Ohio State 3 years in a row. Like the highs are incredible.
Yeah.
And the only part of that I don't like about it was I went to Ann Arbor this weekend for the first time, watched a game in person. We were struggling early.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to enjoy it. Because like I'm really into the game, and it's different being there live. Like it's completely different.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really into the game, and I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to take it all in. Some of it though, I feel like I overlooked some of the atmosphere, just being hyper focused on what's happening and trying to figure out what we needed to do. So that was kind of a bummer. But I'm good at like compartmentalizing and being a realistic sports fan. If we don't have a chance, that's fine. I just want to see the team improve.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was at with the Titans like last year. It's, they're not great. That's kind of where I'm at with them this year. They're just,
it's going to take some years.
I don't have high hopes. And honestly, like UT was so mid for so many years that I have a hard time believing that they're anything now. Like arguably the University of Tennessee's football program is in a better state now than it has ever been in my lifetime.
25 years, yeah.
And I have a hard time feeling good about it at all because they've let me down.
You're
too
the only
many
Tennessee
times in the
fan.
past.
Everyone else, it doesn't matter. I tried Tyler Bray. It doesn't matter with other Tennessee fans. It's like every year they're winning the national championship, no matter what.
Yeah, I guess I've been hurt too many times.
Oh, I understand.
Fake fan.
Look, I'm still there. I'm still rooting for him.
Yeah, but they need your optimism and, hope.
If any team needs my optimism, they're going to be sorely disappointed. Let me tell you.
This episode of It's News to Me is brought to you by Burk IT.
Does Burk have an E on the end?
No, it does not. But Burk IT is an IT managed service provider that wants to build mutually beneficial partnerships with our clients.
Really?
That's true. Believe it or not, that is true.
I can barely believe it.
Unlike many of our competitors, Burk isn't looking for customers to bill when things go wrong. We have built our company so that we succeed when our clients succeed.
That seems like a good way to make money, if you ask me.
Could be.
It seems to be. For businesses in East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, or the surrounding area, we provide security-centric IT solutions with our highly qualified team of engineers.
What if I don't want security-centric IT solutions?
Then you can look elsewhere. But if you do, Burk IT is the place to be. We're building trusted relationships by providing practical, secure IT results. That's the Burk IT way.
So what do you all know about Telegram?
Like the old form of... Never mind, that's Telegraph.
No, it's Telegram.
Is it?
Telegrams, yeah.
What's a telegraph?
Yeah, it's something completely different.
I think a telegram is still something that's delivered to you.
Telegram's like a
paper.
message, but the telegraph is like the beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep. Yeah,
In a
use Morse
telegram,
code.
someone still brings you something.
Yeah, like, telegram
Yeah.
for Mr. Trotter Lawson.
Like a guy with like a bellhop hat comes and he's got an envelope.
Like the courier in Skyrim.
Yeah. Got a missive for your eyes only.
When I search the Telegraph, I only get a British newspaper.
Maybe I'm just crazy. It's probably because you're using Bing.
I don't need this. I don't need this from you.
Telegraph is the long distance. Well, it's
Telegraphy?
Telegraphy is a long distance transmission of message. Yeah, so that was a telegraph.
Yeah, telegram is when you get that delivered to you
Okay, yeah, my bad.
on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about any of that.
Oh,
We're talking about the social media service.
then I believe
company.
I have answered your question about how much I know about Telegram.
I know a little bit about it.
Is that when you like go to your parents' mother and relay some information? Telegram.
Because I use it, but what I use it for is completely different.
Terrible. That's
I
terrible.
use it for these things.
That's so terrible.
Ah,
So I can get like 3D files for 3D prints from Telegram.
Right. Telegram is somewhat infamously a social media, social networking site where moderation is
underdeveloped,
limited, purposely limited. You know, it's very content. Most content that can be found anywhere on the internet can be shared on Telegram.
Such as 3D prints.
Yeah, and 3D prints that are not, you know, necessarily legitimate or
They're legitimate.
you know, could be stolen or any number of things. Telegram is, you know, it's kind of like the best of both worlds in the in the sense that it's used by a lot of citizens of, you know, like China and Russia, where, you know, censorship is a big issue, and, you know, this service and this company, by being kind of you know, having extremely limited moderation, kind of helps them avoid getting trampled on by the government, but it also allows for the proliferation of a lot of illegal stuff, a lot of scams, a lot of things that would not fly on
Mark
the other more
Zuckerberg's
mainstream. Sure, yeah. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter pre 2021. But yeah, the news with Telegram is the fact that their CEO was arrested in France. And this is
sacre bleu.
it's big news not because of that the CEO was arrested. You know, obviously, you know, white collar crime is common. People get arrested all the time.
Oh, yeah. Everybody does it.
But
All the cool kids are doing it.
the CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, was arrested because of the lack of moderation on Telegram. Specifically, he was arrested by French authorities for not cooperating with the French law enforcement on basically providing information from Telegram about like investigations that they were trying to do, investigations into possible criminal activity being done on Telegram. You know, obviously there's a couple different ways that you can look at this. And in one sense, is it trampling on free speech because you're arresting someone for, you know, not cooperating and giving stuff up that's, you know, posted on their platform? Or is this just, I don't know, obviously the investigations that they were getting into, very severe stuff I don't want to say on a podcast for
sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sensitive, illegal activity.
Yeah. You know, a high end, like organized crime, CP, really bad stuff like that, you know? So I guess I'm wondering, you know, what do you all think about this? Where do you stand?
Well, I mean, somewhere in the middle, obviously, but
sure.
As in most things, I mean, obviously you can't allow everything on your platform. You can maintain free speech while also keeping up with the law, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty simple. It's not an all or nothing. So, I mean, I understand not cooperating if it were, them trying to go after like political opponents or ideas or anything like that. But when it's like pretty black and white, anything that's black and white like that, as far as legal or illegal.
Yeah.
Not really much question there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, like, a line has to be drawn somewhere, and it always comes down to, where exactly you draw that line.
I would just draw it with, what laws exist already. I mean,
yeah, but that also depends on where in the world you're talking about. Because laws in like, Russia or China or whatnot, good chance we probably wouldn't agree with, those laws being enforced in the way that they are.
I mean, that's up to the platform too. I mean, that's up to Telegram if they want to operate.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they choose to operate in any of these places, they should, be a little obligated to abide by their laws in those areas. Whether we agree with those laws or not,
really?
I think to some extent, like, if you're going to intentionally not abide by the laws, you have to be prepared to face the consequences.
I don't know that I agree that arrest, like him being arrested, is the play, but I understand the intent. I understand, like I said, it would be different if the reason they were going after him were more benign, or if it came across as like censorship, I would be against it because I don't like censorship, even if the idea is horrible. I feel like most people can think for themselves and they can be aware of that. But yeah, I don't think you should arrest. I mean, just shut down the platform. They have that capability, that power.
Yeah.
In France.
Sending messages on any platform isn't illegal. So it comes down to like, the content of the messages, I mean, you're
still subject to a subpoena. Like, you can subpoena in the United States. Like, if you go to Facebook and you harass somebody and you're in high school and they end up doing something to themselves or something happens as a result of that, like, you can be held liable for that if, subpoena happens and they get that information. Like, I mean, it's the same thing. I would assume, I don't know anything about French law.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I don't know enough about, the relevant French laws in this specific scenario.
I do think that if you have a platform, if you're a CEO of a company that has a platform like this, that you should have a responsibility to maintain. I mean, moral is subjective, but you should have a responsibility to make sure that everything is like above board on your platform.
And I don't think it's necessarily their responsibility to, monitor every message and completely control what people send to each other. But when it's a case where there's like the French government or whatever is specifically like, hey, we need this, and they just choose to not do anything about it, then that's kind of on them at that point.
Yeah, the problem with not censoring it as it happens or having any moderation, though, is you allow these things to continue and you make it easier for some of these organizations to do the things they're going to do. So you're almost assisting them, you're giving them resources.
Right. And it's like, Telegram wants to be this like company that they want to be this platform of like free speech and just freedom in general when it comes to places like, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, any of these, very restrictive countries and things like that. And the thing is, you can't be that like platform for freedom of expression and, non-government interference, without also having kind of this other terrible side to your platform,
Yeah, I don't know. It's also like you ask questions like this and you almost feel afraid to say anything because all it takes is the one wrong thing to say.
Well, yeah, but hardly anyone's listening to us.
I mean, I just I stand for. I like free speech, even if it's something I don't agree with. Even if it's something like that's borderline hate speech, I would rather someone be able to express that as long as it's not actually hurting anybody. If it's just speech, that's okay. The problem is speech can lead to other things, but I do think I think that people can see and think for themselves. I think that's good, but I feel like if you prevent someone from speaking out or you stop them from speaking up about something, that a certain part of the population, their ears perk up and they wonder why. And sometimes that's just as bad as if not, letting them say what they're going to say anyway. And then if it's something that's horrific, most people can see through that and know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a very murky situation. I think honestly, I don't know enough about, obviously the French government has not been, fully forthcoming in all the investigations and whatnot that led up to this specific point. It's this is a legal situation and has yet to be fully resolved.
What do you think French prison food's like? Is it better?
Maybe? I think it's just
better than like normal French food, or just better than like American prison food?
Well, I would say that on average, French food is a step above American food. So if that transverse property, if prison food is a step below normal American cuisine,
I think every prison food is better than American prison food, just based on the things I've heard. Yeah,
I think that's probably a fairly accurate statement.
I'm pretty sure American prison food is just like gray matter.
But do you think they put like a little garnish on it in France?
A little parsley or
like
something?
There's a little pride goes into the maybe a baguette. Do you get a baguette?
No, that's how you can use that as a day-old baguette could be used as a weapon.
That's true.
You sharpen it a little bit,
Because, I mean, imagine going to France and, like, getting locked up on purpose for, like, the tourists, like, to get the food.
Well, there's, like, I don't know if it's one of those Swiss countries, but apparently, like, their prisons are, like, super nice. And, I mean, it'd definitely beat being, like, homeless in America.
Yeah.
All right. So in other international news, this one a bit more tied directly to the United States, but also social media related. Brazil has blocked the social media site X, the site formerly known as Twitter.
How long does it have to be X before we stop referring to it as formerly known as Twitter?
It's still just Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just curious though. You never see a thing that says, "Oh, this happened on X." It's always X, formerly known as Twitter. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that's because everyone still knows what Twitter is.
It's like trying to change
X is such a nothing term.
It's like changing the name of Coke to like a letter of the alphabet.
Yeah,
Coke, the beverage M, formerly known as Coke. No one's gonna be like, "Do you have any M to drink?" It's so stupid.
Yeah, it was so dumb, so dumb. They had a globally recognized brand, that logo. Everybody knew what the bluebird meant. To post something on Twitter was tweeting. People still call it tweeting, even though it, it's not Twitter.
Xing, crossing. I don't know.
Right now, the official term is just posting. I think just posting on X, which is it's garbage. It's terrible. I hate it.
Musking.
Ew.
See, Musk would have even been better. It would have been. Like, Musk just sounds better.
I don't think it would have been.
Did you see on Musk the other day?
Yeah, that's way worse.
This dude musked the other day. He musked out.
The more you say it, the less redeeming it gets. Like,
it would have been better.
I don't disagree with you on a lot of things, but this one, I strongly disagree.
Dog, I was scrolling through Musk the other day, and I saw that. Did you see Shania Twain's latest Musk? That would have been cool.
It would have been something.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, better than X.
Oh god. Anyway, X was banned in Brazil, and I wanted to do my best to set aside my personal reservations about X. God.
It's just like a placeholder name. Like, it feels like you're gonna like go and post and add like an actual word there. You know, it's like using N as a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you sign a contract and they put an X there for you to sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just haven't signed it yet.
God, we can't.
I'm sorry.
This is not connected
It's
to the
hard
news.
to talk about eggs without just immediately going down this rabbit hole.
Because Elon Musk is just, he's his own enigma in a way. There's just so much you can get into there. And frankly, this story has a lot to do with that. It's impossible to talk about this story without talking about that, because the reason Brazil was banned, very similar to the Telegram situation, except...
Wait, so was it Brazil was banned from using X, or X was banned from Brazil?
X was banned from Brazil.
Okay.
Like, Brazilian telecommunications companies are no longer allowed to connect Brazilians to the American social media network known as X.
Gotcha.
So obviously this has stirred a lot of backlash, very similar reasons to the Telegram situation, except probably in an even bigger extent, because this affects way more people. Because obviously Telegram wasn't even taken down in France. It was just the CEO getting, let's be real. He was detained.
Yeah.
He's probably not in prison right now. He's doing whatever. He's a billionaire. He's fine. In any case, Brazil was banned in X. VPN searches in Brazil have spiked by like 16,000% as people try and get back on X. Blue Sky has like 1 million new members. All of these different things, and it all goes back to basically X, Elon Musk, who are kind of inseparable at this point, refuse to basically moderate content related to like disinformation and whatnot in Brazil. Obviously, Brazil, there's a lot that we can get into with Brazil, too much to get into on this podcast, but like they've had a tumultuous last few years. They kind of had their own Donald Trump-ish president.
The president?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Bolsonaro?
Yeah, Jair Bolsonaro. He has a lot of supporters still in Brazil, and they're spreading a lot of misinformation and whatnot on X. Basically, a judge in Brazil gave an order, block social media accounts of a few of these people in Brazil because they were spreading all this misinformation. X refused. Therefore, the consequence is X gets banned in Brazil.
Well, as we talked about earlier, I'm all for, as bad as misinformation is, and I feel like it can be used as a weapon, and obviously is, by foreign entities. I'm all for it, as bad as it sounds. I feel like it's hard to draw lines once you start. Like I said, any borderline illegal, anything that's illegal, I think it should be off limits. But it's really hard to draw lines once you start.
I think the problem with, just the blatant spread of misinformation is it becomes so difficult to tell what's true and what's not.
Right.
That you start to just like, here I go. I'm going to start my conspiracy rant again. It's just like nothing's real anymore. And none of it, like everything you see, you got to just assume it's a lie.
Well, there are still things that are real.
There's nothing's real. It's all fake.
I think it's a tricky situation. I think it's very easy to, it can be very easy to overstep from like a government perspective, from a regulation perspective. But I don't know. It is worrisome because, like, yeah, people should be. I'm with you to a certain extent, Tyler, in the sense that people should be allowed to lie online,
It's fun. Everybody does it.
Everybody does it. Everybody lies. And I'm a believer in free speech. Lie if you want to. But at the same time, I do feel like there has to be a line at some point where if you're spreading misinformation that is going to get people riled up to the point of, violence against other people, I feel like there has to be a line somewhere.
Yeah, see, I feel like that's one of those things that is definitely not black and white, because I feel like a lot of it just has to do with motive, but it's very hard to determine what a person's motive is in something like that.
I think this is really an education issue, though, because I truly think that there's some people that are just really susceptible to this kind of thing. I'm not. I can read things, see something wild or outlandish. Obviously, I go read about it 4 or 5 other different places, and then I form my opinion. So a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll read something outlandish, and I'm like, that's not true. No way. And then I'll go read them. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This might actually have been true. But I just think that you shouldn't punish freedoms because people are too stupid to.
Yeah, but when those stupid people go out and attack, innocent people because of the stuff that they're seeing online, it's just, I don't know. What is your duty to? It always comes down to freedom versus security, right? That's always the big, it's usually privacy versus security is the argument, but freedom is in there too. I think there's definitely an argument to be made that, stopping disinformation and things like that can make things safer in a lot of situations.
Yeah, but
I guess it comes down to, what you think is worth it. What's a worthy sacrifice in the name of safety, Yeah,
but I think that's one of those things that you keep saying there has to be a line somewhere. It's really hard to determine where that line is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the government are people too. So that's it would be one thing if if this government or this entity was an omniscient,
nothing is.
They're people and they have motivations sometimes
and opinions,
whether, they're in the political eye, whether they're, someone who's been a politician for their entire life or someone who hasn't. Everyone has their own motives, and not everybody is, morally, not everyone's Spider-Man, right?
Well, yeah. Yes.
So
naturally. But I mean, it is one of those situations where we have elected officials for a reason, we elect these people to do a job. What? Yes. Noah's giving me a shrugging look here, but they have. These people are in office to do things, love it or hate it. They've been elected for a reason.
Right.
And I don't like a lot of my politicians, especially here in this
where
part
we're at.
Yeah. This part of Tennessee, in the United States in general. There's a lot of things that I don't like politically. But I think, to a point, you got to respect other people and the fact that, they have, for better or worse, elected these people to do things.
I'm just saying you definitely don't want to find yourself in a position where, not necessarily the government, but an entity, whether that's the commercial side of it, the telco companies, someone has power over information, because that is during the Revolutionary War, obviously totally different scenario, different circumstance. But can you imagine if a service like Telegram existed, or Twitter during the Revolutionary War, how different things could have been? And then can you imagine if Britain was nah, shutting that down? Not that the revolution would have stopped, but
I mean, I just feel like elected officials are not, no individual or team, unless it's the collective embodiment of everybody, which is virtually impossible, can really make a clear-cut decision on where that line is.
Or if Twitter had been around and the Boston Massacre happened and they were just like, actually, they fired on us, bro. Or whatever, you know? Like, and to be fair, it was worse then because it was just newspapers or secondhand, and who, for all we know, like it didn't happen the way that they said anyway. But
I think Han shot first.
But like, I feel like you got to be very careful with who you give absolute
censorship control
to. Yeah. Whether it doesn't matter who that is or who, but at the end of the day, they're still humans with motives.
I don't think anyone in any position of power is any more qualified than 5 people you ask on the street.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I mean, maybe more than 5, maybe a larger group. But I mean,
it depends on the city. Okay.
I just feel like, like Tyler said, they're all people at the end of the day. They all have their own opinions and motives and purposes.
And they may not even be malicious. Like sometimes you have these like, built-in opinions and biases without even knowing it. It's just not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to stop steering us towards all these political conversations on here.
I don't set out to do this.
Oh, I mean, I don't have a political like affiliation. I just the whole thing actually, the politics in general puzzles me. Like I just can't get behind it. I can't.
I mean, yeah, me too.
I'm into it. I understand it. I just can't get into it.
I just try to avoid talking any political conversation with anyone at any given moment because odds are whoever I'm talking to,
they got an opinion.
They have their own opinion that's different from mine. Yeah. The biggest opinion.
They said, wow, what a big opinion. I've seen a lot of opinions, none bigger than that one. It's a big one. Biggest opinion I've ever seen.
I don't know. It's tough. I guess I see where like this judge in Brazil is coming from. I guess that's part of what I'm trying to say here. As I understand the decision he made. I guess let me ask you all, do you think that, X should have cooperated in the first place? Like set aside the consequences for not cooperating. Do you think they should have cooperated by removing those accounts?
I mean, I think if they had a way to show that these were like intentionally malicious accounts, then yeah, I don't see any reason they shouldn't have cooperated. Because I mean, it's like if you post a video of you beheading someone on Facebook, they're going to take it down.
Well, yeah.
Which I know is a bit more extreme than what we're talking about necessarily. But, there are rules and guidelines to these things that if you can, make the case that it is intentionally malicious or
I think if you can prove it's bots, take it down. But I do think, like I said, I'll always stand by that if it's a real person who has a real fringe opinion, like I said, as long as it doesn't break any laws, I think it should be totally fine to put on whatever platform. But if it's a bot farm that's like flooding, just as much content that they can possibly flood to get out there, yeah, take that down. But I think people should have a right. Bots don't have rights, but people should have a right to say whatever they want.
Yeah, I feel like all of this really, which again would probably be borderline impossible, but it's really all on like a case by case basis of what you could take down and what not. You can't really just set a set of rules. I'm going to say set 3 times there. You can't set a set of rules and then just expect them to apply to every situation in something like speech.
Well, like in terms of service.
Yeah, like I mean, well,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if they start cooperating, like you said, there could be instances where it's not a bot and it's just somebody that has a really strong opinion. Again, as long as it's not violent or, Well,
and I think there's also a, situation where they cooperate and think they're doing the right thing, and turns out the person in office now is just as bad as the person that was in there before, and they're, compliant to all the crap for that. You know, it's hard to really make that judgment call just based on what someone tells you.
So, as we're all aware, Russia is in an inflammatory state right now.
Kind of like me after I ate Little Caesars.
No, that's me, dude. Legitimately. Inflammatory.
You know, Russia has been at war with Ukraine for the last, God, how long? 2-3 years?
Maybe 4. I don't know.
Maybe 4. It feels like forever. A while, in any case. And in doing so, you know, relationships between the West and Russia are as probably as bad, maybe even worse than some points of the Cold War. I don't know. I wasn't alive in the Cold War. It's easy to
assume things.
Yeah. You know, it's bad. It's not good. The quote unquote news is that Russia is like supposedly looking into targeting underwater internet cables and shutting down the West's internet and our GPS.
Elon to the rescue. They laughed. They laughed when I told them.
Yeah, there's no underwater cables going into space.
We were going to beam the internet down to them. Except actually, I think they would be affected too. Based on how routing works, they would also be down.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, they could get themselves back up in some kind of like temporary capacity.
Sure.
Or at least communicate internally. But yeah.
I think as scary as like this headline kind of makes it out to be, you know, like Russia's signaling it could take out the West's internet and GPS.
Yeah.
There is no good backup plan. It's kind of one of those situations where, and maybe I'm just getting numb to it all, but
we've lived through many once in a lifetime events.
Yeah.
So
it feels like a very similar situation to hearing about how, you know, Putin was like threatening the nuclear option.
Yeah.
If, you know, if the United States did this, if the UK did that, if Germany decides to move troops here, you know, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Everything that we've done to support Ukraine and whatnot, everything that has supposedly inflamed and heightened tensions, ultimately, it hasn't really affected anything
Yet.
Yeah, sure.
But the thing with the no backup plan, I know that I said people are stupid in the last segment, and they are.
Yeah.
But you'd think that our military, who has unlimited funding, essentially,
Pretty much, yeah.
our generals, our tacticians, whether that be a naval, land, Marines, they would have thought about, you know, this could be a possibility, and they would have war roomed this out. Because, I mean, the fact that there's a giant set of fiber optic cables between the Atlantic and the Europe and Africa, like, of course that would be something that someone would target and try to take out. Like, there has to be some kind of backup. Obviously, they're not going to come out and say, hey,
here's our
just to
backup
make you feel
plan.
better about it.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
what we would do. But there has to be something.
Yeah.
But we're not going to know.
I think the biggest thing is, I don't know, maybe I am just underestimating, you know, Vladimir Putin to an extent, but he's made so many incendiary claims. He's like Russia's constantly barking at the rest of the West, but there just doesn't seem to be any bite behind it. And I don't know.
Yeah, they're Florida State University. Just all we got to do is send them boys from Georgia Tech down there to Russia.
They'll take care of them.
Yeah. Get
Boston College on the
Georgia
phone.
Tech and Boston College. Get them on a plane to Russia. They'll take care of it.
That's what we need to do. We don't need to fight Russia. We just need to play a good old-fashioned, honest-to-God football game.
Like a Space Jam situation.
Like a Space Jam situation.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
We put all our boys out on the field. You put all your boys out on the field. And
then we comp in a few cartoon characters.
That's how we decide policy.
No problem.
I feel like they'd probably want to play us in hockey, don't you think?
No, American football.
Yeah, I think Russia's choice would be American football.
Closest. It's the closest thing to war, and that's why everybody loves it. It's a simulation,
I think we've solved world peace.
Yeah,
let's go. All right, in the recording.
Yeah, that's one of those things. We should just stop wars. Just every time these countries have like some kind of disagreement, you
play
just
it on
settle
the football field.
Yeah.
Just go toss the old pigskin around. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like soccer might be a better international option.
American football. You get 5 down linemen, 6 if you're running a jumbo package. Against 4 of their down linemen, maybe some fast. Maybe they're playing 3-3-5. We don't know. That's where the European their strategy comes in. They may play 2-4-6. Who knows? Have an extra guy out there on the field.
2-4. That's not.
That's 12 men.
Yeah, that's illegal.
They play the 1-4-6. They got 1 down lineman. 1 guy with his hand in the dirt. It's about to get demolished. That's like Poland when they when they did their cavalry charge on those Tiger tanks in World War II. They were playing the 1-4-6.
And R.I.P. the World War II era Polish military.
Brave.
All right. Titans are going to the Super Bowl. Vols are going to win in the national championship.
Oh.
Staking my claim right here.
Well, we know it's not going to be Florida State, so at least
well, yeah, it's not going to be Florida State.
But we take solace in knowing that they're left out again. Dang, could even get into the 12-team playoff. We even expanded it for them, and they couldn't get in.
God, they're such an embarrassment.
The one fan, so one listener of this podcast, is a Florida State fan. Just gonna it's that meme of the guy taking the headphones off.
Thank you for listening to It's News to Me. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see or hear more like it, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@BurkIT or go to our website at burkitc.com. Our theme music is Big City Lights by Icholix. Come back in 2 weeks to hear more of me, Noah, and Tyler in the next episode of It's News to Me. In the meantime, keep your data secure and your mind sharp.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, can I call you back? We're recording a podcast.
No.
Yeah, of course, man.
Okay. All right, I'll call you when we're done. All right,
Sounds
love you,
good. I love you too.
Keep that in. Ow. That hurt.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just my knees exploded.